Hello, I'm Ane Lynge Jolin and I head Alpha, a support platform and incubator of Nordic fashion talents. I have the pleasure of moderating this talk on Nordic fashion trajectories with designers Rolf Ekroth, Boram and stylist and art director Anders Sølvsten Thomsen. I'm very excited to be here with you today. All of you are either from the Nordics or based in the Nordics, and Nordic talent, as we all know, is on the rise. And we're seeing so much talent, including yours, succeed internationally. Anders, I'd like to begin with you. You launched your career as a fashion editor at Pop magazine before being appointed fashion director at Love magazine. And since you've worked freelance as a stylist and a consultant for Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Loewe, Document Journal, Vogue China, Reedition, and many more. You also worked as with talent support with students still in college, new graduates, and early career designers. And you worked with Feng Wang since you first started. In your view, what makes a talent?
I mean, there isn't anything specific. I mean, there's so many students that every year graduate as designers, and when I go through the shows, or sit at the shows or the collections, I need to have a reaction. There has to be something that sort of moves me and makes me think, I really want to shoot that. That's sort of my initial approach to it. And then you start sort of digging deeper into constructions and references. I think the idea of saying I want to see something new, it doesn't really necessarily exist. I love to see a ton of references in the collections, but I want to see them reworked in a way that feels fresh and new. And I'm not that interested in collection that is maybe just creating something that is already there.
Yeah, and I hear that you come with that sort of the eye for the image is very much what sort
Absolutely,
of is your background,
yeah.
and I guess also you being you're based in London where there's so many fantastic talent schemes. And also the conditions for running a label in London is so different to running a label in the Nordics. But would you say that is something distinctly Nordic, or in another word, put in another way, what would you say characterizes Nordic talent?
I mean, I think if we're talking about emerging designers and graduate, I feel like there's a stronger focus and finesse right from the beginning. And for functionality, shape, all those sort of things. Why if I compare it to maybe London designers, sometimes it's just an idea. You see student collections being developed, and there's nothing wearable. it's shape, or it's fabrics, or even colors. And I think that for me is really what is the difference with students from the Nordic and London.
Would you say that London graduate scene is more bonkers than the Nordic scene?
I think there's definitely more room for being mad. And I think when you are in college or like university, those are the years you can really experiment and spend time on figuring out what do I want to do. And so you have to play. And as soon as you then graduate and you want to start your own label, it becomes a lot more serious. There's so many other aspects of being a brand that you need to consider, and then suddenly everything weighs higher. You know, you make a couple of big mistakes, and financially that can have such a big effect on you. So it's room to play, and I think they're really good at doing that, and maybe encouraged a lot at sort of London universities.
I guess that resonates with both of you, but I'll come back to that in a minute. Boram, you recently graduated with an MA in fashion design from Aalto University, and you also won the first prize at Alpha this year. But before this, you actually had a long and successful career in car design, and I presume with a nice pay and a fine position. And now you find yourself at the very beginning of, as a graduate of fashion, in the beginning of a new career. I'd like to just hear how, if at all, has your past in car design sort of helped you in terms of designing fashion garments?
Well, I don't really know if it actually helped me in doing fashion, but already when I was working as a car designer, or when I was studying car design, I always tried to just in order to open my like perspective and widen my perspective, if I want to do car design really well, I need to look into something else. Like I needed to study fashion so that I can become also a better car designer. And in order to become a better like fashion designer, I thought I need to like read literature, or I need to study philosophy. I need to look at like music, other stuff. So by learning both of them, I'm just trying to like enrich both field in my like capacity.
Makes sense.
Is that yeah?
So you recently graduated, and you are at that very beginning where as Anders was just saying, you can play in school, but now, well, can you still play? So I wonder, what have been the biggest challenges since you graduated, and what have you done to tackle those challenges?
Biggest challenge was definitely like settling down, or like finding stability. Well, I don't think I even actually told you this, but right after I graduated, I went to Korea to establish my brand. And I got into this young designers incubation center. There I had a studio, and I registered my business, and I started to, contact the factories, sewing factories and fabric companies, and really tried to really run my business. I mean, small scale. But the biggest challenge I had was that as a young designer, even though you have so much like ideas and talents and whatsoever, the partners, the industry really looks down on young like small scale designers, and they really don't want to like give you any even chance to start anything, because they have like minimum amount of fabric that you need to buy, or minimum pieces of the fabric that you need to order. That makes me just like have no option, like like young designers don't have any budget to have that much like scale of production. So that was really biggest challenge, that I don't have any help from anywhere to start anything.
Are you hoping to sort of do it again and relaunch your own label?
Absolutely. I'm still working on it, and I think I'll be doing that for the rest of my life. Like whatever I will be doing for my living as a side job, I'll be keep developing my label. I mean, that's like myself. I'm expressing myself, so I will be doing that for the whole life. But I'm learning how to do it better, and I'm trying to like explore what works for me and for young designers.
Do you feel that college has prepared you properly for launching your own label?
Absolutely not. But I don't think they are even supposed to, because during the study you have so much to learn within the creative areas, and technical areas, how you design garments and how you create your stories and visions and like concepts and stuff. So I think even I know like small labels, they end up doing everything by themselves, like financing, accounting, advertising, everything, because they don't have budget to pay, like outsource those things. But I don't think it's supposed to be that way, because we are like supposed to do like creative job initially, and that's why like the big fashion designer companies have people doing it for them. I'm not supposed to be specialized in financing, accounting, or
I guess that resonates with you, Rolf, just bringing you into the conversation as well. Just a short. So, but you're also a wonderful Alpha alumnus. You won our first prize in 2015, and since then you won Young Designer of the Year in Finland, and you've been a finalist at Yale in 2016, where you won the Galerie Lafayette Prize, and now you have been showing at Pitti Uomo for a couple of seasons, four seasons?
Yeah, something like that.
So I guess what Boram was just saying really resonates with you, because while it's wonderful winning all these prizes, I wonder how they at all prepare you for the hardcore reality of running a label.
They don't. It's a really easy question, and I don't want to be too negative about what it is, but nothing prepares you to what the reality is when you're running your own label, and you try to cope with it with different methods I eat a lot at McDonald's and wait.
So are you wearing all those hats, as Boram was saying, that at least in the beginning of launching?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Still?
Still.
Yeah.
I mean, I have amazing people to help me. I have my girlfriend who's a graphic designer who does all of the prints, and I have amazing parents. We do a lot of work by hand, and they are both retired, so they have the time and also the joy still to help me. I mean, it will die someday soon. They will not die, of course, but their joy of helping me will.
But it's amazing with such a support platform that it kind of becomes like a family thing, I guess, or tight-knit community.
I mean, you could never do this alone.
No.
Never. So it's really important. I'm really fortunate to have amazing people behind me.
So just coming back to the prices, are they helpful in any way, or are they just sort of nice to have, a little bit of cash in the pocket, or do they prepare you or pave the way in some way for you guys hoping to launch, and you have launched your career?
They changed completely what I was going to do. My plan was to go from Auto BA to CSM in London and do that. But I won a couple of prizes. I got a bit of money, and winning the prizes gives you a bit of notoriety. So at least in Finland, you get some kind of press, and then you got the chances maybe to do collaborations with bigger companies, and that gives you that leads you to having to start your own label because you need money to funnel around things. And I mean, it helps a lot. The competitions have been the key for me, at least in my early career.
What would you say have been the biggest challenges for you since graduation?
Money.
Money.
I mean, you can't deny how important that is, and especially now when I have no financing behind the label, it's money, and then it's just taking sleeping pills to get to cope with life.
But it's interesting how that is something, I guess, it's a shared knowledge or shared, experience with early career designers. But you're not so. You launched your label when in 2016?
No, it was in 2019.
All right.
We
okay.
did the first.
So you have like three years.
Yeah.
You've run this. Yeah. What do you know now that you didn't know before starting your label? Have there been any big surprises?
I think like the importance of showrooms, how they really can help you or keep you at the same place where you're at. I mean, also I got a little bit of surprise of how many people are trying to take advantage of you, try to get money out of you, and there's really only a few people who actually try to selflessly help you. So that's been a surprise, and it's not the end of the world, but that's the reality.
And I guess, Anders, coming from your side of things, what, in your opinion, do emerging designers most need support of? We hear money, but is that all?
No, it's definitely not all, but I think it is the core in order to run a business. And I actually maybe disagree with you, Boram. I think the degree should focus highly on how to run a business, of the finance part. I know it's not all geared towards starting your own brand, but they have to teach you some sort of tools on how to do it. I think there was also an element of support on like figuring out exactly what is my strongest design vision, editing it down to, as I mentioned before, I love to see a lot of ideas when they're sort of on the graduation, and then it's pinpointing as like, this is your strongest, there's commercial bit, what we call it. You can turn this into sort of commercial pieces. So it's really helping and supporting them is in finding what is that.
Is that what you do when you work with emerging designers? What do you do with them and for them?
Yeah, that's part of what I do. And then I'll also assist in, it's like how to create the DNA of the brand through visual imagery, through the campaigns, the casting, like everything sets the agenda for, how the press and the buyers will see the brand. So the more sort of edited and precise it is, the sort of, how do you explain it? The higher the the rate is for the survival of the brand. Mm-hmm. If you're trying too many things out, it becomes a little bit complicated, then the press and buyers are confused, and it maybe doesn't grab their attention. So that's what I would sort of go, usually when I work with young designers or emerging designers, I would try and help on figuring out what is that point.
A clear message, a clear
message, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you hammer that idea through again and again and again, even to the point that you get bored of it as a designer, but you have to just keep doing it. And even if you don't show it, once you start getting, nice orders and nice shops, you continue with that message. You can't change or reinvent, the collection every season. Then your customer gets confused as well once you establish a base.
I guess that's where mentors or stylists or any people offering great advice come into the picture. And so I wonder, and I know that you worked with Thomas Leitinen, and do you see him or people like him as mentors and, key people that have helped make a difference in your career?
Yeah, 100%. Thomas has been everything to me, from school to through my professional life. So super, super important that you have people who actually care about you and have a vision and help you in those sort of things. But I got sort of thrown into starting my own label, and I was also creative director for a sporting heritage brand called Terinit, and it's all like I had half a year to start both brands. And just what you were saying, like how important it is to figure out what both brands are and then to just keep on pushing the same thing. I had no idea of this, so I just did random stuff for 2 seasons, and I did like jackets that cost 2,000 euros, plenty of them. And I had no idea that these things don't sell. I was like, Raf has these jackets that cost 2,500. I will undercut him for 500 euros and everybody will buy them. But the reality was that I should have thought more about what both brands are and just work on the base of that. And that was one of the biggest mistakes that I did in the beginning, but I'm hoping to slowly turn that around. But yeah, to your question, Tuomas is the most vital person, and those sort of persons you need in your life.
Just throwing that ball to you, Boram. Do you have any mentors who've changed, the trajectory in your early career?
Well, in the career, I was going to say, as a fashion designer, like including the study and trying to develop my career, I think for me, my biggest influence and mentor has been actually my colleagues, my other fashion
your peer students.
Yeah, because they see in my work that I didn't see before, and they would point out, Boram, this is amazing. This is something really special that you can do. And
can you critique each other's work? Are you open to that kind of critique?
Absolutely, but only between close friends, of course. So I'm not talking about everybody, but few friends that really support me and really encourage me and help me to see, not really you should do this, you should do that, trying to force me to become better and strive, but rather telling me, you have it in you, I see your potential, you're gonna be amazing, wow, you have this, they really see potential in you and brings it out and affirms it to you all the time. and you do that to each other, and that has been my biggest like support and inspiration.
But we all know also that press can cheer you on in a sense, and so press and buyers are important. And I wonder, Rolf, in terms of support in your early stages, can you recall a turning point after having been bought by a retailer or been featured in a specific media?
Yeah, I think for my label it was getting reviewed on Vogue Runway. That really changed a lot. We got so many requests of the clothes from stylists all over the world, so I couldn't even handle them. At times it was like 5 a day, and I felt like I became more of a clothing lender. That was basically my job from 9 to 5, and but it was super good. It felt like we were a bit more established after that, and getting the views each season has just helped to make us established or something. It's still work in progress.
I wonder, when do you find your work most rewarding?
The day we shoot the new collection. That's the only day I smile.
Well, at least you smile one day.
That's all you need, twice a year.
Yeah, it's super fun.
It's amazing. Super fun. But Anders, having worked in the fashion press as an editor and fashion director for magazines for so long, and now working freelance, do you think that the fashion press can do more in terms of talent support, or are they too tied up by clients?
I mean, I think you can always do more, but I do think, I mean, I've been based in London, and I think London has always had a lot of support on graduates and always looking for the next new designer, the next new talent coming through. But more and more, and I've felt that personally as well, there's such more demand from, credit lists and the advertisers that needs to be featured into the main fashion. But I also maybe don't think that's necessarily where you have to give attention to younger designers. I think maybe every issue that gets made should have a small section that is called something new. And then it will always feature young and upcoming designers. And I feel like magazines should be able to find 2 to 3, 4 pages every issue. The problem is when it gets into the main fashion, that's where all the big brands and the advertisers, they demand space, and they demand more and more space now. Now it's full looks, and you can't be on a page with another brand that's like this. So it's getting a lot more boring sometimes to shoot editorials because it's controlled. But then you find magazines like Reedition. Yes, there's also credits, but it's much more free in terms of what you can do, and they're much more open to featuring young designers that fit their aesthetic.
Boram, you have already received a fair share of press, but I know that doesn't necessarily translate into getting a job or a financial partner. How do we make sure that award-winning talents like yourself can survive, in your opinion? What is needed?
I think it would be great, like as I mentioned earlier, if we have like network of like partners who can help us like launch or start up with our own like vision. For example, like suppliers, for example, or people who help with PR, or people who help with sewing, for example, like manufacturing or production, because for like running a business, I mean, as a just fresh graduated young designers, you don't wanna, because you have so much vision and so much like creative ideas that is so fresh and so valuable, and you don't wanna like jump into the way the industry is right now, but you like just like be observed into it, but rather like it would be the ideal if you can like get the support and be allowed to bloom your own like creative vision. But it's just that like you don't know, even though like you get some lectures or some teachings about making your brand strong and having this vision and message clear and simple and communicate it to the world, you don't know how to have, for example, customers and how to sell it. And those things, I don't want to spend like 80% of my time running the business, because my creative idea is so much more valuable. And it'd be amazing if I have like a network of like connection who can just help me little how to even a little bit like start my like launch my own business or like a label as a designer. So like if like part of the award, I mean like well the organization or institution that gives the award, maybe if like people from the industry has already like pay like attention to the award, and if there is some kind of connection already, that would be great.
Anders, what's your view on this? How do we make sure that talents just win prizes and become one-day wonders, but actually can't establish themselves and run a label?
I mean, yeah, it's difficult. There's no real recipe for success for anything. No. But I do think the industry is starting really sort of interesting mentorships, and it needs to be long-term mentorships. You know, and I think that's the only way that we can maybe try and secure more success rates per brand. That is not, oh, you're mentoring someone for 3 months or 6 months, but you kind of need to continue it. And there are so many other stylists and people within the industry that would like to mentor, whether it's from makeup artists to photographers to art directors. I think there's been a real shift in the last couple of years of wanting to give back into an industry that had helped us come through it. Or we're lacking something similar. So I'm hoping that the mentorships are something that's going to help secure that.
One last question, we're running out of time. That's for you, Rolf. What is your advice to graduate designers hoping to establish their own label?
I was wanting to say don't do it. That's not the right. I don't want to go there. Yeah, I think it's good to know the realities.
Yes.
And maybe do internships at smaller brands, maybe not the bigger ones, but maybe do an internship at the struggling brand where you see the realities and actually learn about finances, how the business works, and what to expect, to have realistic expectations, because so many of the first seasons I was devastated because I had high hopes. And now I have no hopes anymore, so now it's totally fine.
On that positive note, thank you all for joining this talk and sharing your experiences with me.
Thank you.